It's T. Michelle Birdsong, Eve, mother of all living, daughter of the sun. You're looking at the son of the sun, a photo of him, Jesus Christ, the Buddha, now being Singh Dylan. Okay, let us begin. The righteous Sing Birdsong meets with injustice, Linda Gayle. Sing Birdsong, being Mozart, the only biological child of Edwin Birdsong, being Johann Sebastian Bach, is being screwed over by the lowlife engineer who calls herself one of the other 8 people who call themselves, wrongly, Edwin Birdsong's children. Linda Gayle is the name of the executor of the Edwin Birdsong estate. Her name, Edwin told me once that Singh and Robin being Handel, only biological child of Stevie Wonder, though she thinks she's Edwin's child too. Edwin told me, being Beethoven, being Singh and Robin's biological and close proximity mother, that Singh and Robin should get what they want from him while he's alive, because after he dies there's going to be a fight for his money. Edwin told me he wants Singh to be the executor of his estate. After Edwin died, I told Robin Edwin's wishes. She pooh-poohed the idea, trusting Linda Gayle because she's an engineer and owns her own business. Did she never hear of affirmative action? And Linda Gayle acts like she's a nice person. I told Robin some of Edwin's so-called children are niggers. Cut your heart out for $1, niggers. Robin naively told me they had middle-class sensibilities. I said Angela and Anthony think like working class, middle class. Sterling is naive, sees no evil, hears no evil, speaks no evil. Edwin's brother, Reverend Sheldon Birdsong, is a righteous bulldog. Edwin's sister, Elzada, is a keen judge of character. She is loyal and has a strong work ethic. Edwin's sister, Lamonia, sees clearly. She assesses even her family objectively. She is a teller of truth. Lamonia told me that comparing Edwin's birth certificate to their parents' wedding date shows that they had sex before they married. I was therefore able to deduce that Edwin is in no way, not physically, in appearance, not in performance, resemble Reverend Sidney Birdsong, because he was not Reverend Sidney Birdsong's biological son. Edwin, as far as I know, hasn't a clue as to who his DNA father is. He therefore concluded his mother was a member of the world's oldest profession, sex for sale. When Shabiba, the child Edwin so-called conceived, in quotes, in Edwin and my bed in our house in Queens, New York, while Singh, age 3, and Robin, age 1, and I were in Los Angeles, the city of lost angels, mother, a black Muslim, has earlier times traveled to Los Angeles to meet the family with Edwin's keen judge of character, keen, Keen, judge of character, Elzada Williams, Edwin's oldest sister, told me, in effect, I did not accept Edwin's mistress, homewrecker, D-I-A-Ali, Shabiba's now mother, because you, She looked at me and said, "You are good people." Elzada had worked as a LA police officer. Her life often depended on her ability to tell a good person from a bad person, so she mastered the art of character reading. Linda Williams, Edwin's sister, who was married to and divorced from an engineer, was self-righteous and unforgiving. When Robin Michelle was visiting with her in Inglewood, California from New York City, Robin accidentally stained Linda's bed sheet with menstrual blood, and Linda never let Robin forget it. She tried to make her feel guilty as if she'd bloodied her sheet on purpose. Robin, who presumed Linda was like her mother, kind, loving, and understanding, learned punishing Linda was not like her mother. She wouldn't let a 13, 14, or 15-year-old Robin Michelle stay home alone while she went to work in an office. She insisted that Robin come to work with her, though not do any work, but sit in a chair nearby Linda's desk, bored. Fortunately, Robin Michelle, like her grandmother Miss Frog, projection of Baba G being Jesus Christ, being Gurinder Singh Dillon, who you're looking at, liked to read. So Robin sat reading in an uncomfortable chair uncomfortably, while Linda worked. And even that didn't please Linda. She criticized Robin's choice of reading material, popular books about the culture. When I had been in Los Angeles with 1-year-old Robin and 3-year-old Singh, keeping Robin and Edwin's widowed mother, Elzada's Lamonia, and Shelton's widowed mother company, Linda had given me a book called Your Erroneous Zones by Dr. Wayne Dyer. As Dr. Dyer knew would be the case for most people, I read the title at first as Your Erogenous Zones about sex. Turns out it was a self-help book about thinking clearly. I became, after reading that book, a fan of Dr. Dyer's and a fan of self-help books. So Linda did me a solid, turning me on to Dr. Dyer's book. Turns out Dr. Dyer, being Pope St. Linus, successor to Pope St. Peter, successor to Jesus Christ, has elected to be my and my son's son, Giancarlo Arturo, created first in my heart brain, which signal my head brain, which signal our genitals that he was, the son was, the one to go ahead with God, the creators, the ball of fire, the sun's divine spark to make a baby, to create new life, to add to the creation, one to become the other and both to be the other as one. That is love. Love is losing your identity. Love is becoming the other person's point of view. Either Linda didn't love me, obviously. She can't love what you don't understand. That is why, after Jesus Christ being Charan Singh, now being Gurinder Singh Dillon, said that. He said in answer to a satsangi, a disciple's question, why do we live? Charan Singh said, we live to learn to love ourselves. Note the double entendre. Double entendre definition. Noun, a word or phrase open to two interpretations, one of which is usually risque or indecent. Example sentence. He was unable to get through 2 consecutive sentences without a smutty double entendre. Similar word to entendre. Ambiguity, double meaning, from Oxford Dictionary. Linda never forgave me for plaiting Edwin's bushy afro into what felt and appeared to be 100+ tiny braids, which took hours, but it was done for love. I did it to please my husband, Edwin Birdsong. Linda acted like I had made her brother, Edwin, look foolish, like a girl. Even after black men all over the world started wearing their hair plaited, many like masculine men, celebrities, Stevie Wonder and Snoop Dogg started wearing their froze, plaited, while adding extensions to look like they had long hair, like Jesus Christ. But it is said that eating pig's flesh and what's that word? Eating pig's flesh sometimes keep one's hair from growing. Linda Williams, Edwin Birdsong's sister, didn't have the wisdom to see the difference in the black hair style of the black culture. She was not objective enough to see that Edward and I had changed the culture for a while. She could not credit us with this monumental achievement because she was hung up on caring what people think, wanting to impress people of her perfection. Nothing to criticize, nothing to find fault with. It never occurred to her narrow mind, indeed to her closed mind's belief, that I had done that I hadn't done a bad thing to Edwin. When the hairstyle I'd given him, as shown on the cover of our first album called What It Is, and our second album called Supernatural, created an image for Edwin of being an artist with a new approach to culture, radical truth. Stevie Wonder being Adam's penis in the garden, being Judas Iscariot in the first century, who killed himself out of remorse for killing Christ, for money and jealousy. He was in love with Eve, who was Mary Magdalene. So Stevie Wonder being Adolf Hitler, who killed those who called themselves Jews because he thought they killed Christ, along with Herod being black disc jockey Gary Bird, and Pontius Pilate being Adam's first wife Lilith, being wife of Argentina dictator Juan Perón, and now being Michael Bublé's wife Luciano La Plata, or some name like that. All deserved to die. Adolf Hitler thought they all deserved to die, and die horrible, torturous deaths like Christ did. Michael Bublé is a projection of God, Gurinder Singh Dillon. Just as Singh Birdsong, the only biological child of Edwin Birdsong, is a projection of God, Jesus Christ being Charan Singh, now being Gurinder Singh Dillon. Singh was living with his dad in his LA suburban home when his father died. Singh had sold his co-op in New York that his mother, Michelle Birdsong, was responsible for him having. He could have gotten $3,000 a month for his Lower East Side co-op and paid for a place in Brooklyn, living on what was left over after rent, no more than $1,000 a month. So Singh could have had $2,000 a month to live on, in addition to making money using his skill, being a virtuoso musician and excellent recording studio engineer. But Singh was so concerned about his dad's health and his dad being alone that he sold his home. Singh sold his home, Singh's home, shipped his belongings to Edwin's house in California, bought a motorcycle and drove it all by himself to Victorville, California, to take care of his dad, leaving his cozy life in New York City behind. If that isn't martyrdom like his God, Jesus Christ. I don't know what else it is. Singh was being a martyr. He was also being a martyr when he stayed on to sort through Edwin's collection of doodads in that house all by himself. And Edwin had packed the house with things. Singh said he didn't want Edwin's money, he only wanted his equipment. Fair enough to any fair-minded person. But Linda Gayle, the executive of Edwin's estate, despite that Edwin wanted Singh as his executor, was and is not a fair-minded, good and decent person. Linda Gayle, a mentality of poverty like the other black masses, is power-crazed. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely moment. Sir John Acton, 1st Baron Acton. Between 1837 and 1869, he was known as Sir John Dahlberg Acton, 8th Baronet. He is perhaps best known for the remark, "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men," which he made in a letter to an Anglican bishop. Wikipedia reports that. Stevie Wonder, whom many see as a great man, as being as Adam's penis, who was seduced into committing the original sins by his first wife Lilith, those sins being anal and oral sex. And when Stevie Wonder heard our album What It Is, he called to say he loved it and quickly became best friends with Edwin for the next 45 years, all the while waiting for Edwin to produce another What It Is album, which I have written a What It Is album too for Broadway production. So Stevie Wonder, having not the wisdom to realize that I was Edwin's partner, the writer of most of the words he sang on What It Is, and the creator of his image as being cool, the coolest new artist on the music scene at that time. Steve seduced Edwin away from his wife and children, rendering Edwin resourceless to create a follow-up What It Is. Like I said, I created a follow-up What It Is too. Steve, I didn't produce it yet, but I've written it. Steve did not sell What It Is to the world. Talk about the original album, What It Is to the World, as I had sold him to the world's greatest music lord, Johanna Bagoda, being my husband in a past life. I praised Stevie so highly, Johanna took him on as a client and made deals for Steve so lucrative for the following 40 years that despite Steve being a spendthrift, his net worth is still $100 million. But justice will prevail, making a Freudian slip. Okay, I'm going to stop now. This is part 1. I'll tell you what the Freudian slip that Steve made is later on part 2. Okay, I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but you'll see part 2. Thank you for watching. It's T. Michelle Birdsong, Eve, mother of all living, daughter of the sun. I'll be back with you soon.